I would like to thank everybody for attending. This is my very first official press conference as regional superintendent, so members of the press, I ask that you keep that in mind when asking press questions later. We've asked you to join us today to help get the word out that Madison County Schools, Madison County Law Enforcement, and the Madison County Mental Health Department are working together to keep our schools safe. Today, my office convened a school safety summit. We reviewed policies and procedures and brainstormed about ways that we can improve our security measures. However, we need the public's help in this battle. I know it sounds cliche, but we need to repeat the phrase, if you see something, say something. These two posters on either side of the podium here display information of how the public can say something. The one on my left is the number of the website for Safe to Help Illinois, a website and a hotline for students, parents, and anyone to use to report information they may have that could help prevent a school tragedy. It's very user-friendly, even for people of my age. It's also very attractive to some of you that are younger and our students that will find it very attractive to check that out. The other one is the QR code for our local Madison County Health Department resource page. I was just on this morning. It's very extensive, very excellent resource for you all to check out. You can just put your cell phone up, take a picture of it, the QR code will take you exactly where you need to go. Check both of those out. Our conversation today will lead to more conversations in the future. My office is organizing semi-annual meetings of educators, law enforcement, and mental health experts to assist our schools in being proactive in their approach to school safety. We're doing everything in our power to ensure that our students are doing everything required by law and more. Our focus going forward has to be on the more. Times change, people change, technology changes, situations evolve, and we must stay current and up to date on everything in order to protect our students. I'm going to add one more thing before I open this up for questions. Our society has changed over my time in education. I'm getting ready to enter my 30th year in education, and I've witnessed some things change for the better, but I've also seen society move away from having a moral compass. I don't care what your religious beliefs or non-religious beliefs are, but everyone needs to have a sense of right and wrong, and everyone needs to be loved. We need to be a more loving and caring society. And that starts in the hearts of each and every one of us. Please think about that every day and focus on trying to improve yourself and be a better person and be a more loving person. I will now let Mr. Hain and Major Connor and Director Humphrey speak briefly, and then we will open it up for questions. Again, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Deborah Humphrey. I'm with the Madison County Mental Health Board, and some of what I shared today with everyone that was in attendance is just some of the mental health needs of youth. I talked about, contrary to what is believed, that mentally ill people are the individuals that we're seeing, and while that is true in a small percentage, it really is individuals who have had a lot of other things that have happened in their lives. They've experienced trauma as youth. They have anxiety, depression, sadness, and as you know, with COVID, that's been on the increase. I just saw our statistics with just one of our communities. 98 youth were in crisis this month by just one of our agencies. Bullying, 3/4 of youth involved in school shootings have been bullied, harassed. They've been socially rejected, isolated, where that comes into more loving and caring individuals in our community to support these youth. Adult connections, most of these kids are marginalized. They don't have positive parenting role models. They don't have a positive adult connection. Adult video gaming. There's a lot of desensitization in video gaming today. If you've gotten on and watched it, I've watched my kids to see what they're watching, and there's some things that are there that kids should not be watching. Social media, and we all can see how that plays out. In fact, that was part of our conversation again today, is the impact of social media, how it is abusive, it's humiliating, there's threats. Youth are individuals that have committed acts of violence, they're saying it on social media. Stress. School shooters have experienced significant stressful lives, and they don't have the coping mechanisms to manage their emotions. Again, the Madison County Mental Health Board is here. We do provide a lot of supports within the schools. Again, some very insightful comments from everyone today in terms of what can we do to improve our work in schools. We certainly will look at addressing those because they were very good suggestions, and we are just so glad to be a part of the work that is going to be done through the superintendent's office and through this group, and again, thankful for being a partner in that.
I'm Major Jeff Connor with the Sheriff's Office. I first want to give Mr. Worden an A for his first press conference. He's always wanted to give a grade to a teacher. I just want to say, as a representative of law enforcement, we are going to work together with each agency. We have a lot of representation here and work with our schools, and just pleased to be part of this, and I think this is a win-win for everybody. Thank you.
Good morning. I appreciate everyone coming today. It was a very productive summit today where we had dozens of individuals from law enforcement, from local schools, public and private, my office, State Attorney's Office, Sheriff's Department, Regional Office of Education, Mental Health Board. So it's a whole of county approach that we're attempting here. And we want to make sure that we do whatever we can to make sure that in Madison County, we just don't make avoidable mistakes. We don't make avoidable mistakes in the protection of our most valuable asset, which are our children. And that's what we hope comes out of this summit. Avoid avoidable mistakes and then constant improvement. As has been the theme here today, school violence lies at the intersection of mental health, law enforcement, schools, and from my office's perspective, an increasingly violent juvenile issue in our county and in our society. And that's why I think it requires all of us together. Working together, I truly believe that we can and should and must make our children safer in their schools. Our conversations today centered on three general areas. First, coordination and preparation. We are working continuously to strengthen our coordination across offices, throughout law enforcement, across the county, and throughout all of our schooling communities, public and private. We want to coordinate and communicate better every day. And we're working together to come up with a proactive plan that accounts for new technologies and new improvements to encourage better preparedness constantly in Madison County. So this is not a one-hit wonder. We're going to be doing this recurringly, and I appreciate the great leadership of the Regional Office of Education and Rob Worden in making sure that this happens recurringly. We're using this as an opportunity to reflect, but we're committed to making sure this lasts for a long time. The second thing we spoke about a lot today was public involvement. So we encourage the public, and this is a constant refrain, that when you see something disturbing or hear something disturbing, say something. Disturbed individuals who commit violence in our schools almost always make their intentions known before the violence begins in some format. And so we're relying on you, the members of the public, to bring dangerous and disturbing comments to the attention of law enforcement. Please report them and use the hotline number that you see here, or the QR code that you can take a picture of. Report these disturbing comments. If we don't know about them, we cannot take action. And when we know about them, we are committed to swift action. When a report is made, when a report of a threat to a school is made, we all respond quickly with that coordination, because a threat to a school is a crime. If a threat is made, police investigate, and if it's substantiated, they will make an arrest. We make every effort to then detain those individuals until we can get a threat and a risk assessment from mental health. That's very important. We check then whether or not those individuals who are under that threat or risk assessment have access to firearms. The vast majority of these cases are juveniles, and the vast majority of those juveniles are determined to be attention-seeking rather than actual threats. We understand that that is a reality, but from the initial report, we treat them all equally because we want to ensure that we don't ignore something that we think may be a kid being stupid on the internet, but is actually going to end up as a tragedy. So we take every report seriously, and we would encourage you to please know that your report will be taken seriously and handled aggressively. And then we prosecute those crimes. My office takes a zero-tolerance approach to threats in our schools. They are a Class 4 felony, and we prosecute them. So I appreciate the leadership of everyone here. We encourage the involvement of parents, the public, school officials, law enforcement, so that we can continue to make our community safer every day, and especially our schools, which are filled with beautiful, wonderful children, and we want to make sure those continue to be a wonderful place to be and to learn. And we will continue to update you on how these protocols will change. I think within weeks, we will be able to update you on how we're coordinating, consolidating these efforts, because this is not just an attempt to get the word out. This is an attempt and a commitment to make real, tangible, effective improvements in how we keep all of our children safe in our schools. So I appreciate the time today. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I love that phrase, avoid avoidable mistakes. That is something that is wonderful that came out of today's meeting. While there are some things that we were discussed today that we would like to keep confidential for the safety of our students and staff, we will now open this up for questions. Please be respectful of the fact that there are no lawmakers up here. We are all charged with operating within the boundaries of current law and reality. That reality is what we apply to our preventative measures, and that reality is evolving every day. That being said, I do want to make sure that our meeting today shows tangible results, like State's Attorney Haynes mentioned, and I will be giving a summary report available to you all in the press by the end of this month. Again, I can't thank everyone enough for being here and being sincere and dedicated in their approach to this meeting. It was very successful. A lot of good ideas came out of it, and I want to thank everyone for taking the time to be here today. I'll open it up for questions. Scott. Yeah, well, we've talked about several things. The first thing that came to mind was the social media monitoring situation. We think we can all do a better job on that front. It ties in with both these posters that we have up front here. We talked about creating a panel of law enforcement experts that we can share within every school district in the county. And I know it's been done in the past just on a district by district basis, but my job is to look out for every school in the county. So if we have that expert panel, and it's just like everything else in life, you want to go to the experts and get their input, and we have safety experts. Madison County is blessed with some tremendous folks in law enforcement, retired FBI, we've got Secret Service agents. We have a tremendous amount of resources that we can tap into and determine what are best practices. And then we're going to share that list of best practices with every school in the county. We talked about a recognition program. Not sure how that's going to pan out, but we're at least looking into that. We've looked into training for students, because that's what my school superintendents are coming back in the survey when I did with them last week. They are really wanting to have some training available for their students and staff. I'm working with the local teacher unions to get me any kind of staff training that they have available, and they're working on that for me as well. So those are ideas. That's just probably the tip of the iceberg. There was, my brain is full. I don't have my full notes from the meeting in front of me here. I apologize. But off the top of my head, that's what I can answer that question with.
Obviously, training and implementation takes time. So obviously,
The biggest change right now is that we're going to, well, it's just summertime right now, so you're not going to see a whole bunch probably until, which is, from an administrative standpoint, that is a good thing. That gives us time to actually plan and implement things for next spring. I don't know if there's anything right off the top of my head that I can tell you that it's going to be super different next year, but I will say this, that we have committed to not only meeting today, but we're going to be meeting multiple times in the future going forward to discuss and go over best practices and implement what's effective and what works.
When you say training for students, do you mean active shooter training? Or can you specify?
Well, active shooter training is required currently by law. And by the way, there is a list. Kim, do you have that? For the members of the press that are here, yes, we have the School Safety Summit official laws. I want you guys to all take a copy of that. This describes everything that is currently required by state code. And right now, they are required to do a active shooter drill within the first 90 days of school. Now, one of the discussion items we talked about today was we're required to do 3 fire safety drills, but only 1 active shooter drill. Will we need to improve that? I think potentially, and in my talks with folks in Springfield, when I go up to Springfield, we're going to probably discuss things that may be more requirements for that. But that's what I'm hearing from my superintendents, is the fact that they would like to have more training for students.
Does this need to be law over the board, or you mentioned Springfield? Can you just implement that in school policy?
My office is policy enforcement. We're not policy makers. But that being said, I can convey what's going on in our schools, and I can tell policymakers what's happening. But ultimately, that is going to come down from them to my office, through my office to our local schools. So that's how, the process. Right? I don't want to put that out there that we have some kind of power that we don't. We don't have a magic wand that we can wave and make things change. But we do have the ability to talk to people and explain what's going on in our schools and try to impress upon them the reality that is what it is in our schools.
Aside from the school board meetings, have you learned that opportunity to partake in different avenues to collaborate with you guys on what they would like to see in schools?
The first and foremost, the avenue that I always explain to parents is that school board meeting. You're exactly right on that. That part of the process is the most basic grassroots level of government and of parental involvement. So I always encourage folks to go to attend. And through COVID, we knew we had a lot of people show up at these meetings, and some people were like, "That's not good." No, I've always said that's a good thing. Before that, the only time you had a big crowd at a school board meeting was to get a coach fired or to get somebody that was some other small issue. With COVID, it showed that parental involvement is key, and it's part of it. And as school administrators, we welcome that. We want them to be involved. We want them to know where their tax dollars are being spent. And we want them to have accurate information, because when there is accurate information out there, then they can take into account and they can understand what is going on in our schools. And that's what we want. We want transparency. We want to be good communicators. I would invite them, and that's probably a decent idea. We could invite them to a meeting and involve them and let them know, the steps that are being taken. And that's part of why I have you here, because I want them to I want to reassure parents and of school students that we are working on it. We're not just sitting back and waiting for something to happen. We're trying to be proactive in our approach.
And it seems to be more of like a national power. It's happening all over the place. Has there been any state departments or any national-wise that have reached out to areas like this and kind of formed a plan or any sharing data or anything to kind of work cooperatively with?
My focus is on Madison County schools. That's what I was elected to do. I have had, just as you mentioned, two people this morning have asked me, and this, because word about this event has gotten out to state level, I want to say agencies or state level groups, and they have, I'm sure after this, I've got a couple emails waiting for me, because I had a couple conversations already this morning of people that are wanting to know how this event turned out and what they can do to maybe implement or learn from what we're doing here. So Madison County is an incredible place to live. You all, if you're from Madison County, you know that. And we are leaders in the state of Illinois on a lot of areas, a lot of subjects. And I'm very proud to be from Madison County, and I love that fact. And if we can lead in this school safety area, I'm all for that. So, and state and nationwide, either way, I'm proud of us, proud of what the work we're doing here. And that's law enforcement, that's educators, that's top to bottom. It's a great county.
Can we talk about what safety measures work with the school resource officer, blackboard, things like that?
We can talk about it. I'm not sure, I'm not going to give you any kind of secret inside information, but you sure can ask questions, and if I'm not comfortable answering it, I'll just say so.
So, is there a school resource officer at every school? Are you looking to add more, or what those conversations like right now?
Okay, right now there is not a school resource officer in every school. I mean, and in a perfect world, I think there would be, but we also have to deal with funding. And funding, so we've talked about that in our meetings, and we've had situations where we're trying to do the math and try to figure out how could we get that into every school. At this point, it's in the discussion phase. I think that's the safest way to say that.
You mentioned that this was going to be meeting. How often is it start a format like this again? Is this what happens sometime down the road?
That's what my vision is, to have a summit at least twice a year, semi-annually, I believe. And so that part of it is something that we're, in my office, I'll take the lead on that and try to make sure that we meet. I meet with the superintendents 4 times a year, so we meet quarterly already. And I try to make sure that they are actively engaged and communicated with everything that we do. And I have a great bunch of school superintendents who are very involved and attend my meetings regularly. So I may be adding another 2 meetings to their plate, but I'm sure they will make time because they're wonderful educators.
You know, this is a big societal issue. So, what, obviously, fast reaction and being proactive is all great. What was discussed about kind of stopping these sort of things at the source? Oftentimes, these issues can start before children are even entering.
Well, and that's why I'm going to turn that over to Deb here, because I've kind of dominated this. I apologize, but that's an area where, Deb, I'm going to put you on the spot here. And these sources here are resources to help, I want to say do everything we can to try to stop this from happening in the future. Deb, you got an answer for that?
Yeah, and we actually have school-based mental health services in all of the jurisdictions in Madison County. Not all of the schools, but majority of the schools do have school-based counselors, and we also have what is referred to as prevention staff that work both on mental health, primarily on substance use, but with what's happening, they're going to be expanding it to do more prevention in the mental health area. So they're working with kids, trying to do skill building with coping and those kind of mechanisms with youth as they see the need. A couple of suggestions again came out today is that they're there, but they don't circle around maybe back to the social work staff and the staff within there. So that's one thing that we'll look at again in enhancing. Another suggestion was, why not bring youth into this discussion as well? What is their input? They're there, they see other kids, they may be identifying other kids that are struggling, as well as staff, and also again monitoring social media. What are youth saying there, so that we can again use those as prevention ideas. But again, we have trauma-based counselors that are funded through the Mental Health Board. We have those counselors. We have individuals that'll go and do home visits and do counseling in the home, as well as office and virtual. So we have an array of mental health services for children. It's identifying the children that need those resources, but I believe we do have a community that's responsive and mental health providers that are very invested in our children.
And then, a lot of times, mental health is really stigmatized. How have you guys thought about those options?
That's probably been the biggest detriment to mental health ever, is stigma. And again, we do some awareness type initiatives and training when we can to educate the public. We're doing and funding mental health first aid training, which is for anyone. It's not professional based, but it's really to help individuals gain a better understanding about what mental health is, the misconceptions, the myths, the misunderstandings about mental health, so that we do know as a society, as a community, how to deal with mental health issues and how to help people get help. And I think that's the primary goal of what we do in regards to our training. Also, there's been a change in language that we're trying to make with mental health, and again, awareness helps with stigma, but awareness isn't enough. Acceptance people are marginalized, as I said before. They are discriminated against for having a mental health issue. So people don't want to seek treatment because of that, because they don't want to be that child, that youth that's going to see the mental health counselor. That just furthers the trauma for that child within a school setting. So again, trying to make that more acceptable, that it's okay to seek help. It's okay to have issues and problems, to let someone know about that, an adult or a friend, and to seek help. And that's why, again, we have that resource directory created, again, to help provide to schools in the community. Again, if you see someone that needs help within your community or your church or just a friend or a child's friend, there's resources.
All right, that pause tells me that ends the conference. Thank you so much for being here. Thank everybody up here for standing with me, and thank you all for attending everywhere. Thank you again.